All right, so we're about 2 months into the 2025 draft class's NBA careers, and I wanted to put a grade on every single player from this draft class on how well or not well they have done so far. And I'm not like grading what I think their careers are going to be. I'm not regrading this draft just yet. That will happen later in the year. I just want to see who's been maybe exceeding expectations, who's looking like the part we thought they could be out of this draft, maybe who's just having a little bit of a slower start. And yeah, maybe there are some rookies you can give an F, but the lowest I'm going to give out is going to be a C. A lot of these guys haven't really had consistent playing time, so they're going to be a C. And maybe if they've had consistent playing time and they haven't been playing well and it's been somewhat of an adjustment period, they're also going to get a C, but I'll say why when I talk about that specific player. And we're going to start off at the top. It is going to be Cooper Flag getting an A+ so far here for the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe you had some unworldly expectations for Cooper Flag going into his rookie season. I did not, because he is still 18 years old, and now we know he was kind of thrown into not the greatest environment in Dallas. They had the Nico Harrison drama at the beginning of the year. One of their best players, Kyrie Irving, was going to be out. They signed D'Angelo Russell, who has not really worked out as a main ball handler, so it's had to be Cooper Flag as the guy there, especially since Anthony Davis has missed a decent amount of time this year, and Cooper Flag has only missed one game this season. He's averaging 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Like I said, as an 18-year-old, I think the defensive tape has really standed out to me this year, and I know it kind of was a little bit tough for him at the start, being that main ball handler in Dallas, because nobody could really dribble the basketball right now. But over Cooper Flag's last 5 games, he's really hitting his stride as an offensive creator. 23 points and 6 rebounds, and he's not really even shooting the 3 ball that well, but he has been so physical and so impressive around the rim for, once again, somebody that is 18 years old. Just think about how good Cooper Flag's going to be when he's 23 and 24 in this league. That is 6 years from now. He's not going to make an all-star game this year, but you definitely take this production so far through the Dallas Mavericks. He is clearly the guy that they are building around going forward. I don't know if you would have him number 1 in the Rookie of the Year race today. I still think he's got a really good chance at being the Rookie of the Year by the end of the season, because I wouldn't be surprised if we hit like the month of February or the month of March and Cooper Flag averages like 26 points per game in that month. And I think the game is starting to slow down for him. It's going to make things better that Anthony Davis is back healthy for this team, and it's only going to make things easier for Cooper Flag when Kyrie Irving comes back in January or February. So yeah, I'm giving this one an A+, and I don't know if you could disagree with that. Maybe if you thought he was going to be the next LeBron or Wemby, maybe, but I don't think anybody with realistic expectations had that in mind when you watch Cooper Flag coming out of Duke. I also don't know if this one is going to be unpopular, but I'm giving Dylan Harper an A so far. Unfortunately, Dylan Harper has suffered a few injuries at the start of his career, kind of going into the year and earlier in the year as well. But I think Dylan Harper has looked the part of somebody that's going to be an elite scoring guard one day. Basically, everything we thought he was going to be coming out of Rutgers, and he has looked the part so far in his first 13 games for San Antonio. About 13.5 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists on the year, basically being like the 3rd most important guard going into the year, with De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle already in that backcourt. He's shooting around 48% from the field. He's great around the rim. He was elite around the rim at Rutgers last year, shooting over 70% at the rim, which is something centers do, and he was doing all of that as a point guard. He was great against the Pelicans on Monday night. 22 points, 6 assists, 62% from the field, hit the go-ahead shot as well. The composure he has as still a teenager at 19 has to make you excited if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan going forward. I hope we get to see him, Castle, Fox, and Wemby all play together. We have yet to see that foursome play in a game so far this year. And I don't think Harper is going to win Rookie of the Year because his stats aren't going to look as good because of what his usage is in San Antonio. But if you just watch him, you could tell he's going to be just an elite scoring guard, like I said, and is going to be an all-star one day. So for VJ Edgecombe, I'm going to give his grade so far an A as well. I was going back and forth between an A or an A- because Edgecombe is definitely hitting somewhat of a rookie wall as of late. He is struggling over his last 10 or so games. It looks a lot different than the start of the year for Edgecombe, where he had that historic NBA debut, scoring 34 points on 50% shooting, 38% from 3 against the Boston Celtics in his first career game. But yeah, over Edgecombe's last 14 games, he's shooting 36% from the field and just averaging around 11 points a night. But I really like the defensive intensity that he's provided Philadelphia. I also don't really love how much he's played so far this year, over 34 minutes a night, for the rookie Edgecombe, and he was averaging close to 40 minutes a night at the start of the year because you had no Paul George and no Joel Embiid playing for the 76ers, no Jared McCain either. So it's basically Maxine Edgecombe and Quentin Grimes trying to do all the work for this team, and I hope that doesn't really catch up to Edgecombe in his rookie year because it is a long season, and I really don't want to see him get overtaxed so far. But right now, I'm going to give it an A. Yeah, like over the last 10 or so games, that could definitely warrant this grade dropping down to an A-, but I don't want to forget what he did at the start of the year, looking really crafty as a scorer, looking way better as a three-point shooter than I thought he was going to be coming out of Baylor, at least right out of the gate. He's up to about 37.5% from three this year. It looks like he could poster anybody on any given night. He's a true elite athlete in the NBA, and Philly's got to be thrilled about him going forward. I just really haven't loved the way Nick Nurse has kind of used him as of late. I wonder if you agree, Sixers fans. Next up at number 4, we have Con Knipple, who in my opinion would be the Rookie of the Year winner if the season ended today. We still have so much time left of these guys' rookie year, so I can't say confidently that he's going to win that award, but yeah, he's been the best rookie so far. Through 24 games, has played every single game for the Charlotte Hornets so far, and has been 100% the best Charlotte Hornet this year. He's been better than Brandon Miller, than Miles Bridges, even better than LaMelo Ball. He's shooting about 46% from the field this year, 40% from three, leading all rookies with 18 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. If you watch any of Con Knipple's like post-game interviews, he sounds like a 15-year veteran out there, and he is still just 20 years old. He is so smart on the basketball court, knowing where to be after setting a screen, knowing where to be when the ball isn't in his hands. He tries and gives 100% effort every single night defensively. He's really good in transition, and he's one of the best shooters in the NBA in just 24 games into his NBA career. And it maybe even sparks a question in Charlotte, given how good he's been, that should they move on from LaMelo Ball at one point and kind of give the keys to the franchise to Con Knipple, because he does look like he's going to be such a crafty scorer in this league for a long time. So yeah, if you're the Rookie of the Year favorite right now, I have to give you an A+, about a quarter of the way through these guys' rookie seasons. So at number 5, we had Ace Bailey kind of slide a little bit in the NBA draft. He ends up going to the Utah Jazz, which I love for him as a good developmental spot, but I'm going to give the start of his rookie season a B, which is still really good, but it took a little bit of time for Ace Bailey to kind of get acclimated to the NBA style over in Utah. He also dealt with like an illness and an injury as well, which would kind of go into his slower start. He's been in and out of the starting lineup. He started 14 games this year out of 23 possible, shooting around 44% from the field and encouraging 36% from three, 77% from the free throw line, but isn't really getting to the line a ton, averaging around 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. Now, the Hornets aren't a great team, the Mavericks aren't a great team, but I just think the Jazz are a tier below those teams right now, and they're starting to get a little bit worse as the days go along. Like, I know they have one more win than the Charlotte Hornets, but they're 6 spots lower in the NBA in terms of net rating, so it's going to be tough for Ace Bailey to play in important games this year as a rookie, but I think that could also be good for his development under Will Hardy, who's going to try to get the most out of Ace Bailey going forward. He's still looked like he can hit those insanely difficult shots we saw at Rutgers. I would like to see him be a little bit better as a playmaker with the ball in his hands. I think he's been kind of score first at times, but that's why we go through these guys' ups and downs in their rookie seasons. He's still just 19 years old. I think there's been some good, I think there's been some bad, but you have to be very encouraged so far if you are a Jazz fan. One spot after Ace Bailey was Trey Johnson out of Texas. I'm going to give this one a B+ so far. Unfortunately for Trey, he suffered a serious hip injury and he's going to be out for a decent amount of time in his rookie season. I don't believe that it is season ending, but we may not see him till after the 2025 calendar year. In the 15 games he played in before he got hurt, he still looked like a great shooter, what we expected coming out of Texas. 11.5 points, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists a night, shooting 44% from the field, but 39.5% from 3 on 5 attempts a night. A good free throw shooter, but not getting to the line a ton. It was just weird because Brian Keefe was not really playing him over 20 minutes a night before this hip injury came out. So I'm not sure if he was playing through this injury as well in that Brooklyn, Minnesota, and Raptors games before he ended up getting hurt. So I'm just going to give this one a B+ so far. I thought Johnson looked the part offensively. He was super efficient, but like Ace Bailey, he is not in a good winning environment right now. You can make an argument the Washington Wizards are the worst team in the NBA. So it doesn't really give Trey Johnson a lot of help on the defense defensive end or even offensive end of the court. So he has to make something out of nothing at times. But I think he looked really encouraging. Hopefully he's not going to miss too much time. I think with all things considered, you got to give Jeremiah Fears an A so far throughout his rookie season. Now, what I kind of thought coming out of Oklahoma is on display right now. He can make some really good reads. He's fantastic in transition, and the three-point shot has looked encouraging. 37% from three, 80% from the free throw line. But like Oklahoma, he struggled a little bit at the rim, which is not uncommon for rookie guards. That tends to happen, especially if you're a little bit of a smaller guard out there, around 6'3", 190 pounds. I mean, that's not a small human being, but that can be considered a small basketball player in the NBA. But Fears is averaging around 15.5 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. And like Ace Bailey and Trey Johnson, he is not in a winning environment right now. Basically, 75% of the Pelicans cap space in Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, Jordan Poole, and DeJounte Murray aren't playing out there. So Fears and another rookie we're going to get to from the Pelicans have had to be kind of like the main guys in New Orleans at times. That's incredibly tough for rookies that are basically teenagers on a non-winning environment that doesn't really have much of a veteran presence for them out there. And they're basically having to be like the guys offensively, which is insanely tough going from that at college to the NBA, at least right away. Fears was not a top 5 pick. He's playing like a top 5 pick so far. I'm giving this one an A. He has impressed me a ton this season. One pick after Jeremiah Fears was Yegor Doman to the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to give his production so far a C+. There's been some good. There's been some bad. Sometimes I think that he's too passive out there and he's not aggressive with the ball in his hands. He's taking about 5.5 threes a game, and he's only taking about 2.5 twos a game. So he's taking pretty much double the amount of threes than he is at twos, and he's 6'8". I would like to see Yegor get a little bit more aggressive, getting downhill and trying to finish around the rim. I think he gets a little bit too three happy at times. Now, in this Brooklyn Nets offense, it's a lot of let Michael Porter Jr. cook, and then maybe you'll get a catch and shoot three, and that's kind of in the role he's in right now. He hasn't really been to the line a ton this year. I mean, shooting 35% from three is encouraging. He's averaging around 3.5 assists, 3 rebounds. I definitely see the potential in Yegor Doman, but I think it's just been tough for him to go from like a specific role at BYU, what they call Pro U, to what he's kind of being involved in this Jordy Fernandez offense in Brooklyn. Because like I said, it's a lot of Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas when he was playing. Just let those guys cook, and then maybe you'll get a shot here and there, but you're not going to have a ton of possessions to kind of refine your skills. That may happen over the course of the year, and maybe Brooklyn trades MPJ, who knows. At number 9, the Toronto Raptors selected Colin Murray-Boyles. I'm going to give his production so far a B+. I didn't expect Colin Murray-Boyles to be like a true ceiling raiser for the Raptors, kind of like Flag is for the Mavericks and Harper is for the Spurs, but Murray-Boyles has looked the part defensively. He's super physical as a post defender. I like his switchability on the perimeter as well, and he's a big part in why the Raptors are a top 10 defense this year. And he hasn't taken a ton of threes, but he's knocking them down at least. He's taking about a 3.5 a night, shooting 48% from three. So at least he's not like a complete negative on the perimeter. He's shooting 55% from the field, about 58% on twos, 3 rebounds, almost a steal a night. I mean, he's not playing a ton in Toronto, still about 17.5 minutes a night for somebody that was a top 10 pick. It was a weird selection at the time, but I think he's been good so far, so I'm giving it a B+. Here's my first C. It's going to be at number 10 here. Come on, my watch to the Phoenix Suns. He's just barely played this year. He's played in about 11 games, and he's averaging about 4.5 minutes a night. So yeah, he's just appearing in garbage time for Phoenix. I mean, Mark Williams has been a good starter for the Suns. They've thrown Nick Richards out there. They've obviously thrown Oso Ighodaro out there as well. They go small ball at times with Ryan Dunn at the 5. So yeah, I can't really give this one a fair grade. I did think that Kaman was going to be a little bit more involved right away, given how bad maybe Ighodaro was at times last year and Richards was at times. But the Suns have been really good this year. I don't think they're going to mess with anything. We may see Kaman in the G League for a little bit. The Memphis Grizzlies traded up with the Portland Trailblazers to select Cedric Coward at number 11. This one has definitely been an A in my opinion. Now the 3-point shot is coming back down to earth a little bit. He was shooting like 60% from 3 throughout the first 2 weeks. Now it's about 31% from 3, but he's looked every part of a good NBA role player one day for the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't think that he's going to be an all-star one day. Now there is still a chance that happens. A lot of people think that he could have like a career arc to like a Jimmy Butler or a Kawhi Leonard, given the similarities in their measurements and somewhat of their play styles, given how hard Cedric Coward plays. I mean, he's averaging 13 points this year, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 45% from the field and 84% from the free throw line. If you want to give this one an A+, I can't really disagree with you too much. And I didn't want to hand out too many A+, but Cedric Coward is going to get an elite grade here at an A. Could definitely end up on the all-rookie first team for somebody that was drafted 11th overall. At number 12, the Chicago Bulls selected Noah Essengay. At the time, I didn't really love this pick for the Bulls. He He looked good in the G League, but unfortunately is going to have season-ending shoulder surgery, which is going to pretty much put his games played in his rookie year at 2 at the NBA level, which was weird because the Chicago Bulls had been one of the worst teams in the NBA as of late, so it was kind of odd that he wasn't getting really any runtime with the squad. But pretty much in the tip-off tournament, he was averaging 23 points, 51% from the field, 84% from the free throw line for the Windy City Bulls. And it sucks because we're not going to see Essengay for a whole nother year. He was one of the younger players in this draft class as well, still 18 years old by the time I'm recording this video, so he'll be just 19 next year in year number 2. And maybe when he comes back next year, it's going to be a completely different Bulls roster where he can actually be a key part in a rebuilding rotation. Because yeah, I'm just hoping out that the Bulls finally go in the right direction, kind of just go all the way in that youth movement around Essengay, Buzelis, and Josh Giddey, and trade their veterans at the deadline. I know that's wishful thinking. So I've given out an A+ to Cooper Flagg, to Conkinipple. Here's my third A+, Derek Queen. And it makes me feel so good that Derek Queen is playing well this year, because this kid was going to have such an unfair spotlight this year, because this is the pick that the Atlanta Hawks traded to the Pelicans to get the Pelicans' unprotected first-round pick in the 2026 draft. The moment I'm recording this, the Pelicans are the worst team in the NBA, but that's not because of Derek Queen. It's because 75% of their cap space isn't playing for them. It's tough to win when you're relying on Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears to win you games as rookies, but Derek Queen has looked like one of the best offensive rookies in the NBA, 100%. He's averaging about 13 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 4 assists on the year, shooting about 50% from the field and 80% from the free throw line. He just had a 33-point triple-double against the San Antonio Spurs. He had 4 blocks, 73% from the field, and they lost that game. He played really good. Trey Murphy played really good, but they're not on a good team right now in the Pelicans. There's no Zion. There's no Poole, Murray, Herb Jones to help Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears and even Trey Murphy out there right now. So yeah, it's always going to be unfair for Queen because of what Joe Dumars inexplicably gave up on the night of the 2025 draft, but that shouldn't affect how we look at Derek Queen, because this has been a very good selection. I wish he threw a top 3 protection on that pick this year, and Derek Queen has the nickname Baby Jokic, and he's looking like it so far. Carter Bryant was selected 14th overall by the San Antonio Spurs, and if you watched Carter play in the Summer League or preseason, you maybe thought that he could be an all-defensive guy one day in his career, which can definitely happen, but he's a part of a good Spurs team, which pretty much has loads of forwards and wings that are going to be ahead of him in the rotation, like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan. So it's been tough for Carter Bryant to crack the rotation, so I'm just going to give this one a C right now. He did struggle offensively in the Summer League, and he hasn't really hit his shots in the minimal playing time he has played this year, so I think that's something to keep an eye on. I still love his long-term 3-and-D potential if that shot comes around, which I think it will. Thomas Sorber was selected 15th overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, like a C or an incomplete. He's not playing at all this year with the ACL tear. I'm going to be really excited to watch him when he returns next year. Just going to be like another first-round pick for the Oklahoma City Thunder going into the mix. When I'm recording this today, they technically have the 3rd overall pick from the Clippers. We're screwed. And then, yes, one of the more polarizing picks on the night of the 2025 draft, Jan Hansen getting drafted by the Portland Trailblazers. If you watched my draft stream, you knew how much of a shocking pick this was, in my opinion, just because I think Hansen Yang is very far away of being a rotational player in the NBA. People compared him to Nikola Jokic, called him the Chinese Jokic coming out of the CBA, which is not really the most competitive league in the world. That's why I was a little bit skeptical of this pick, especially as high at 16. And yes, Rob Williams has been good this year when he's been healthy, and Donovan Clingan has been solid this year when he's been healthy. I just don't know if Portland needed to draft somebody like Jan Hansen. I think there was a couple more intriguing guys that went after him. You got maybe an intriguing Orlando Magic first-round pick later on from trading down, but this team could definitely use another guard on their roster. Imagine they were the ones that took Cedric Coward, or imagine they just took Derek Queen, who's kind of a similar play style to Jan Hansen on the offensive end of the floor. And he's been solid in the G League this year, averaging around 16 points, 46% from the field, and 31% from 3, but he has just kind of looked lost out there when he's been with the active roster. But he's still just 20 years old. He's a raw player. It's going to get a C right now, but this was a long-term pick for Joe Cronin and the Blazers front office. Another C pick here, one after Yang. It's Johan Berenger, who got drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves with the 17th overall pick. Berenger looked really good out of the gate in Summer League, but he's kind of struggled to fit in this win now Timberwolves rotation. They've thrown kind of like Naz Reid and Randall at the backup 5 spot with Rudy Gobert in and out of the lineup. So yeah, Berenger has hasn't really had a lot of playing time this year. I'm giving it a C. It's been mostly garbage time. And sometimes he's getting some DMPs. I don't know in hindsight if the Timberwolves wish they took a point guard. In this range, no point guard has really stood out this year. But like Portland, this was always a long-term play, and they probably expect Baron J to be the starting center when they inevitably move on from Rudy Gobert in a few years. Walter Clayton was one pick later to the Utah Jazz, who traded up to select the former Gator at number 18. I'm going to give this one a C+ so far. I think Clayton has struggled a little bit offensively and defensively, but his three-point shot has had its moments this year. He's really skilled at the free throw line. He's averaging around 7 points, 3.5 assists, and 2 rebounds a night. He did have a really good performance against OKC, where he had 20 points and 9 assists, so he's starting to come around as of late. So I think this is probably the lowest this grade is going to be all year. C+ is still good. That shows me that you at least look like you belong at the NBA level, and Clayton is probably going to be a good scorer for the Jazz for the rest of the season. I was so back and forth with Nolan Traore in the 2025 draft. He has not been great so far in a very small sample size in his career. 4 games played, 1.8 points, 1.3 assists. He hasn't really been knocking down his shots whatsoever. And Nolan has been mostly in the G League this year, playing 12 games for the Long Island Nets, averaging around 19 points, shooting 48% from the field and 41% from 3, which is definitely encouraging. It's just kind of like a weird roster with the Nets right now. What I alluded to before when I was talking about Yegor, there's just a lot of guards. You're letting the veterans cook at the moment. So we may not see Nolan back into the rotation at a consistent rate till in the second half of this regular season. One of my favorite prospects going into this draft got drafted by the Miami Heat, which made me feel better about liking Kasparas Jakučionis, but he has not been in the rotation whatsoever for Miami this year, a team that has been exceeding expectations. I thought Jakučionis would have been involved at least somewhat, but that has not been the case this year. He has appeared in about 8 games with the Miami Heat's G League team, shooting 42% from the field, 32% from 3, averaging around 16 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. He was inconsistent with his outside shot in Summer League and preseason, and it hasn't been the best so far with the Sioux Falls Skyforce. So another thing to keep an eye on with Jakučionis' development, but since he hasn't really done anything at the NBA level, it's a C. Will Riley, I'm going to give him a C+ so far. I think Riley has shown some intriguing tape as of late and showing that he could belong at the NBA level. He had 15 points against the Atlanta Hawks. It was a very impressive scoring game by him, kind of getting to the spots that he needed, doing a lot of that on twos around the rim. And then he had 13 points against the 76ers. But unfortunately for him, like Trey Johnson earlier, he's on a non-competitive team at the moment. But for somebody that's 6'9", that can hopefully use that wingspan and that length to his advantage, it's still just 19 years old. He intrigues me long term. He's going to have probably some good opportunities in Washington once CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton are off this team after the deadline. So yeah, he's getting a C+ like Walter Clayton. I think both those guys are going to look really good over the next few weeks. I thought it was slightly odd to take Drake Powell at 22, but I like that it was different for Brooklyn, just not taking another guard. Powell, I'm giving a B+ so far. He looks NBA ready as a defender, 6'5". I mean, we talked about his wingspan and what he could be as a switchable defender coming out of UNC going into the draft. And last year at UNC, he was just kind of like a stand in the corner guy. I think he's had a little bit more offensive opportunities this year with the Brooklyn Nets, just way more compared to at UNC last year when it was like RJ Davis and Elliot Cadeau doing most of the offense. He's averaging around 6 points this year, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 48% from the field, 36% from 3, and 94% from the free throw line on about a free throw attempt per game. But I think Powell's going to be a good player in this league, and I'm excited to see him with more minutes and shot opportunities throughout the year. I'm going to give Asa Newell a B- so far. I think he's also looked the part as an offensive weapon for the Atlanta Hawks in the paint. He hasn't really done too much this year as a 3-point shooter, but he's taking about a 3.5 a night. But hey, at least he's hitting 50% of them, averaging around 4.5 points, 1.5 rebounds. It was going to be tough for Newell to play more than like his 8.5 minutes right now because of Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, Mohamed Gay in that front court. But he's had some good games recently against the Washington Wizards and the LA Clippers. And maybe that could be a sign to Quinn Snyder to play him more, but I think he could be a good offensive big man down low. Maybe he's going to have more playing time just kind of going forward. Maybe when Trae Young gets back, or more so next year when maybe Kristaps leaves in free agency or something like that. I thought Nick Clifford was one of the better rookies in Summer League and in the preseason, which makes sense because he is 23 years old. It's been kind of up and down for him so far to start off his NBA career. He did get hurt before the year started, so I'm just going to give this one a C+. He struggled a little bit around the rim and with this 3-point shot. I think he's made good reads. It's just he's in dysfunctional organization right now in the Sacramento Kings, who are just throwing out just random lineups every single night. And I think it's been tough for Nick Clifford to really find his role with the Kings right now, which you may not find till after the trade deadline when like half this roster is gone. I've really enjoyed the Jace Richardson minutes when they've happened this year, so I'm going to give it a C+ so far. It's just he hasn't really had consistent playing time for the Orlando Magic. He looked good against the Knicks in garbage time. He looked solid against the Spurs and the Sixers and the Celtics. It's just he hasn't had consistent playing time, which is definitely tough for a younger guard. We saw that on display with Reed Shepherd last year, but Richardson has been very efficient with the small shots he has taken this year. I wonder if he would just be better suited in the G League to kind of just refine those skills and build up the confidence. Ben Suraf is going to get a C right now. He has played more than Nolan Traore for the Brooklyn Nets on their active roster. He's had some good games as of late against the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls and the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll see if he's going to get better as the season goes along. He's made some nice reads, but he has struggled with his shot overall. But he was a raw prospect coming out of Ratio Farm, so it's going to take some time. But Danny Wolf, who went one pick after Ben Suraf, is going to get an A- for me right now. Danny Wolf has been very fun to watch as of late for Brooklyn. He looks incredibly shifty for somebody at 6'11". He's looking shiftier than he did last year at Michigan. Now, he was always an offensive-minded prospect that gave you some versatility. Being at 6'11", that could be a good three-point shooter. Well, he's shooting 44% from three this year, 92% from the free throw line, averaging around 8 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists, and is going to be a very fun offensive weapon for the Nets going forward. I've really enjoyed him out there in the front court with Noah Clowney as of late. This could be one of the better picks in the 20s throughout the year, because I think it's been the best pick in the 20s so far. And one pick after Danny Wolf was Hugo Gonzalez of the Boston Celtics. I'm giving this one a B so far. I don't think Hugo's offensive numbers really stand out a ton, but his defensive tape has been very impressive. And that was always what his appeal was coming out of Real Madrid, what he could be as an on-ball defender, as a help defender, somebody that plays with great intensity. I mean, he's 6'6", 200 pounds. He can guard multiple guys on the court. He's going to throw his body around as well. This looks like a really good role player long-term for Boston, giving it a B. Out of the 4 Charlotte Hornets picks that we're going to talk about in this video, Liam McNeely may get the lowest grade, but it's still a B-. He has shot 40% from 3 this year for Charlotte. He has struggled a little bit defensively, but I expected that coming out of UConn. But if he could be a career 40% from 3 guy or close to it, he's going to be very valuable for the Charlotte Hornets moving forward. And then Yannick Niederhauser at pick 30 really hasn't had consistent playing time for the LA Clippers this year, which I don't really get why, just because they're the oldest team in the league. They look old, and it could just be a nice breath of fresh air rather than throwing Brook Lopez out there. So this one is just kind of like a C incomplete so far, because we haven't really seen a ton. And then I'm going to go through the second round a little bit quicker. Rasheer Fleming also hasn't had consistent playing time for the Phoenix Suns this year. This one is also a C. I think Noah Penda has shown some great defensive flashes this year, so this one is also going to get a C+, kind of like Jace Richardson. He hasn't had the most consistent playing time this year for the Orlando Magic, but like Jace, in that Knicks game, I thought there was some really intriguing defensive tape against New York. Something to watch going forward, especially with the Franz injury. Back-to-back picks here from the Charlotte Hornets at 33 and 34, and I think they hit on both these picks. Sion James getting a B+ for me right now. He definitely looks like he could be a good role player long-term for the Charlotte Hornets, kind of like a 3-and-D guy on the perimeter. And then Ryan Kalkbrenner is just shooting a casual 80% from the field. He was the 34th overall pick, giving this one a B+ as well. And then we're going to rattle off a bunch of C's, guys that really haven't had consistent playing time this year, and if they've been out there, they haven't really shown a lot. Janai Broom to the 76ers at 35, Adu Thero, who was hurt to start off the year, to the Lakers at 36, Detroit selecting Chaz Lanier at 37, Cam Jones, who hasn't played this year because of injury, for the Pacers at 38, and Elijah Martin to the Raptors at 39. Because of all the injuries in New Orleans, Micah Peavy has played a decent amount, who hasn't really been good whatsoever offensively, but I've enjoyed the defensive tape so far. He's been flying around. He's 6'7", can guard multiple positions. So he's getting a C+ because of what he's done defensively. Kobe Brea hasn't really played a ton this year, so that one's getting a C. But Maxime Reynaud, who went 42nd to the Sacramento Kings, is getting a B+ for me. He has been one of the better second-round picks so far this year and has looked great offensively over his last few games. He had 25 points against the Houston Rockets. He had 12 points on 55% shooting against the Miami Heat in their 16-point win. He looked good, in my opinion, against the Indiana Pacers, and he had 19 points on 63% shooting against the Utah Jazz. It looks like he could be a good offensive center for Sacramento moving forward. I still think he went way too low in this draft. Jameer Watkins, who went 43rd overall to the Washington Wizards, and Brooks Barnhizer, who went 44th to the Thunder, are going to get C+. They've shown a little bit of hustle ability this year, and I think are going to be more defensive-minded guys moving forward throughout their careers. They're a little bit on the older side as well. And then a bunch of C's here throughout the 40s. Rocco Zikarsky to the Timberwolves at 45, Amari Williams to the Celtics at 46, Bogoslav Markovic to the Bucks at 47, and Javon Small to the Grizzlies at 48. Tyrese Proctor went to the Cavs at 49. I'm giving this one a C+ as well. He looks NBA ready as a floor general and as a defender, but he has struggled with his outside shot. And then Kobe Sanders, who went to my New York Knicks on the night of round 2, 50th overall. I was so happy about this one. and then they traded this pick away. This one is a B. Sanders has been a good rotational player for the Clippers so far. And then a bunch of C's after Kobe Sanders: Mohamed Diawara to the Knicks at 51, Alex Tui to the Warriors at 52, John Tonje to the Utah Jazz at 53, Talion Peter to the Indiana Pacers at 54, Lachlan Obrick to the Bulls at 55. And then how about Will Richard, who ends up going 56th to the Golden State Warriors, who has started a decent amount this year for the Warriors. He has started 12 out of his 23 games for the Golden State Warriors as the 56th overall pick, averaging 8 points, 53% from the field, 40% from three. This is a very good second round pick by Mike Dunleavy, who hit on quit and post last year, and it looks like he did the same with Will Richard this year out of Florida. And then 3 C's to wrap things off, guys that haven't really played so far. You have Max Shulga to the Celtics at 57, Salvio Niang to the Cavs at 58, and Jemai Mashack to the Grizzlies at 59. So that is gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these grades down below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys do enjoy the draft class talk. Subscribe if you are not already. Thank you all for 200,000 subscribers on this channel. It really means a lot. I'm really excited to build a community here talking about just the NBA or the draft or college on a daily basis. So it truly means a lot. I love you guys a ton, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.